Okay, this is the March 23rd meeting of the Central Florida Computer Society TechSIG virtually. Meeting is being recorded. Continue. Hello, Sean.
Hi.
And I mentioned I'm keeping the mask on because I had oral surgery last week and I am very bruised up. It would just be terribly distracting. And
not a pleasant process. I had a couple of teeth taken out in January, but they're healing.
Yep.
How about Donna Armitage? Anybody know her?
no.
All right. I guess we're being, and Marie has gone away. And now Gary Esmeyer. There's Gary. All right. I guess your email got forwarded to other people. Let me text Donna and see who she is.
I don't see her on the list of participants.
No, I'm because I started the
Oh,
meeting.
you haven't let her in yet, of course.
I haven't let her in yet. Yeah.
Here's Jerry.
Hi. Had a hard time connecting.
Welcome. There's Dick Vogel. I've never been on the other end of this in the waiting room where somebody typed me a message and asked me to respond before being admitted. So
I guess some people use other people's computers or the wife or you know, so a
it can
different name.
happen, but I don't
Yeah.
recognize the first or the last name. And of course, Stan put on the email, you know, if you want to share this, you can share the whole message and
Yeah.
The link won't change. So. Hi, Dick.
Good evening. How are you? How's
Very,
everybody?
very Floridian background. We've had our week of spring and we're about to get into summer here at the end of this week.
Yes, yes.
They were saying temperatures are going to be in the 90s this weekend.
Yeah, I got something that I picked up. I'm probably the last person in the world to join the Echo Dot crowd. I'm sure everybody else has one, but
Several.
I recently picked one up that I rather like. They now have one that has a clock in it. And one of my great beefs with the clocks that they have available today is very few of them hook up to the internet or check on the broadcast time capability to keep up to the current time. And I'm always reminded of this when it's time change, because my DVR changes, my computer changes, everybody else changes, except of course the stove and the microwave. But the clock next to my bed never does. So Echo now has a dot that's a little round thing. It's about this big around, and it sits on your nightstand, takes up no more room than a regular clock radio, and it connects to the internet and keeps up with the current time, so you don't have to change it when it's time change.
I'm looking at an Echo Show on one of the shelves right above my monitor, and you can change the home screen on it. It's got a 5-inch screen, and so I've chosen to have it show me a slideshow from my Amazon photos, and then it has a digital clock in the upper left-hand corner, and that did adjust. And then I went a little crazy Black Friday and I bought a Echo clock, which is probably a 10-inch diameter clock. It's on my wall. The only thing I miss is not having a display of the seconds or a second hand. But instead, going around the dial outside the numbers are individual marks for the minutes. And if I set a timer, it will go ahead and if it's less than an hour, it'll light up all of the minutes from the current time to the numeral 12, and it will start counting down as the timer finishes. And if it's a longer term timer, it'll put a single light at 12, and it'll stay that way until it's time for the timer to count down.
Yeah, that sounds pretty. Is that battery operated?
Yeah, and it connects via Wi-Fi to your
Sure.
network, and then to any, it'll sync with any device. So I just synced it to my show, but it'll sync with an Echo, and it'll sync with a Fire Cube, and it'll sync any Amazon device with that technology.
So something interesting about I have one of those clocks as well. It's actually Bluetooth. It's with,
Is it Bluetooth? Okay,
yeah,
I thought
and it's
it was
only to
Wi-Fi.
one device.
Yes, that's
So
true.
I have two devices that are not too far from one another, and I like to set the timer for when I'm cooking. Well, the clock is paired to another room that's adjacent to the kitchen, so I have to tell the kitchen one to set the timer on the other dot, and that works.
Oh,
But
I didn't know it would do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
What brand is this clock?
Amazon.
Yeah, it's an Echo clock. If you go to
It's
Amazon
just-
and look at the Echo devices or search on it. Oops. Yeah, I have both a Fire Cube and a show here, so I had to change the key phrase of the Fire Cube to AMAZON instead of ALEXA. I feel like I'm spelling for a child, you know.
God forbid anybody has ever named a child with that name.
I wanted to do computer because I remember Scotty in the search for Spock when they go back to San Francisco, and I think they're looking at one of the original Macs in one of the places they go, and Scotty bends over and says, "Computer, tell me," whatever it is, and of course the Mac doesn't respond to him, and it's, "Computer, why are you not responding to me?"
That's cool.
Mike,
Hang on, let me see who else. Oh, Forrest is there. All right. Whoops. No, that's nothing new. All right. Go ahead, Ted.
I gotta get my medicine. I'll be gone about 10 minutes. So I'll be right back.
All right.
Well, Stan, would you like me to host for you and we'll start going around the room?
That'd be great.
Um,
Thank you. I'm having something to eat. I had a time crunch to get here, but yeah, please do. Thank you.
If I were you, I'd probably be having a shake.
Applesauce,
Applesauce or soup.
green corn.
Hey,
Chicken soup.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm going to have to leave the meeting. If for some reason I'm getting very bad internet and I'm only hearing like 10% of what's being said.
You want to
So I'm gonna
diagnose
reboot
it and come back in? I'll admit you if I see you pop
Well,
in.
and reboot the computer.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, here comes Ken. I'll wait till he gets in. Hello, Ken. Can you hear us? Unmute. Well. All right. May as well start. Wait a minute. Where'd Sean? Oh, I lost Sean. Oh, there
I'm
you
here.
are. No, I see. You want to start, Sean?
Sure. I think I've only got one thing
You're
that
going to share your screen, right?
talking about. Yeah.
Well, let me see what I have to do that. Let's see. Make a co-host.
Yes.
I'll make a co-host. Yes. Okay. You're a co-host now.
Okay, let's see. Just share this as a. So I sent out a message not too long before the meeting about I installed a local speed test on a computer that I have here that I wasn't using. I just happened to install Ubuntu Server on this computer today, and then I saw a video in my YouTube queue about something called OpenSpeedTest. Can you see my
Your screen, yes.
screen? It looks like a web browser.
Yep.
Okay, so this local speed test is kind of cool because it allows me to test the connection speed between a computer on my network and the server. So I can test, in essence, the network within the house. So I sent an email to the groups about how to go about installing it. It can actually be installed on a Raspberry Pi. So if you are interested in Raspberry Pis and kind of some cool projects, this is a good one. So the installation took me about 20 minutes total, trying to figuring it out. The link that I sent, it's a video with has some pretty good instructions there. So here's the initial page. I've got my local device here. It's not a secure server. It's only internal. I don't have this exposed to the internet. It's just for, like I said, internal. I'm going to hit start speed, and this is from one of my computers to that server. So it looks like
where's the server in your house?
It is, yeah. It's internal, yeah.
So what about the rest of us that don't have servers in our house? Where would it go? Back to Spectrum?
Well, no, you'd have to install it on a Raspberry Pi or take an old computer and turn it into a server. This is an internal computer, a computer that you keep on your network so that you can test your internal network speed. I mean, we all know how to test internet speed, right? You just go to speedtest.net or DSL reports and go to the speed test. This is internally between two computers, in essence, on your own network. Even if the internet was down, I could run this test internally. So as you can see here, I'm getting 741 down from the server, 776 up. So this is a gigabit network, so I should be getting faster than that. So I've got to figure out why it isn't going faster. And when I tested it earlier, I was getting in the 800s, and then upload speed was actually was full speed. It was 970, something like that. So kind of a cool thing. I'll put a link to it in the notes here as well. So I think that's all I've got for right now. I didn't make a list of what to talk about. So if something, when everybody's done, if there's something I can think of, I'll chime back in.
In terms of what you said, I know you said a Raspberry Pi would make a good one. Now, I'm just thinking over the last probably month to month and a half, I just started watching videos of these micro PCs about the size of a fire cube. And they're full Windows PCs, although you can put Linux on them. So, and they're like, somewhere between 300 and less. Some of them are down below 200. So as being brand new and coming with Windows. And a lot of them are using the AMD chips, although there were a couple that are using some of the Intel chips too. And so if you're going to use that application, essentially, does that run under a specific operating system, or it is? I mean, you literally boot into it, and that's what you get.
No. This actually runs. I have it set up and running in a Docker container on a Ubuntu Linux server. So I installed Ubuntu Linux. I created an installer USB drive today, and booted it up on this computer that I have. And as soon as you boot from that USB drive, it asks you, do you want to install Linux on this computer? And I just said yes. And it steps me through it. So that took all of about 5 minutes, or I mean, it wasn't very long. And then I left it. And then I happened to see this video that I sent a link out to, which I will link to in the notes. And then I installed, you connect to the Ubuntu server via SSH, and you run the commands. I just copied and pasted the commands into the terminal window, and it installed the Docker program. And then you install these containers, which contains, in this case, the OpenSpeedTest and it has obviously a web interface. And there's many other things you can do with Docker. This is just one thing. Yeah.
So I'm trying to think of an app that one of us could do. Even if we had an old computer, you couldn't be running Windows on it, for example, and then just put this on as an app and have it sit there run on. Oh, sure. You can?
Yeah, I think they make Docker for Windows. If that's the case, you install Docker on your Windows computer, and then you would put this as one of the containers. And then from another computer on your network, you'd go to the IP address of your Windows laptop or whatever computer you've installed this upon, and then just go to that IP address, and it'll come with this screen. It says OpenSpeedTest. You just click the button that says Start Test, and it will then it'll test the speed from that computer to your Windows computer for the Docker container.
Okay.
Yeah. So good for testing. I didn't realize. I've got actually some other things I need to pin down, because I've got a laptop here that when I run the test, I'm getting like 300 on a wireless connection, which I should have better connection speed. So I have to figure out what I need to tune to get that speed to go up. So, but it's nice to know. I know I didn't really know. I didn't go into any other real testing. This is a super easy way to test your internal network speed.
Paul and I had gotten into a big discussion on the bandwidth or the throughput that you would get on a home network, and the differences between the wired connection to your router and the Wi-Fi connection to your router, and whether if the network is rated at 1 gigabit, do you really get it? Like you were showing that you were getting 700 something. And the impression that I got from the old days is that your local area network isn't faster than the slowest device that's on it.
No,
which didn't make sense to me unless, say, you were running a hub instead of a switch.
Well, when you say the slowest device, do you mean any device?
Yeah, in other words, let's say that coming out of my router, there's 4 ports, and one of those was coming to my computer, and I had a Cat5e cable rated for a gigabyte, and the router is rated for a gigabit. And then I connected a Roku to it, and it was an older Roku, say a Roku 3 or something like that, and it was only rated for 300 megabits. The tech that I recall from, again, the old days, is that the whole network would then slow down to match that 300 megabits. So I guess that's not correct. The case.
That's correct. The slowest pipe in there will determine the speed, whatever the slowest one, whether it's
of every device on that same network.
No, on that device that you're testing.
On that device, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So on the upline, whatever the slowest one is, that's going to determine what your speed's going to be. So it depends. As Sean said, the same thing. It just depends on the upline where you're going with it. If you want to transfer data at that rate, that won't happen because you got overhead. But what you're doing is just a loop to loop, it's like an internal.
Yeah.
Okay. And so
all right. Well, let's go one step further. I have an older 4-port switch that is rated at 300 megabits. The switch itself is rated at 300 megabits. I'm still using Cat5e cable to go from the router to the 300 megabit switch. And then I've got a number of devices connected to that 300 megabit switch in the entertainment center, because back in the day, the internet wasn't any faster than 300 megabits. You couldn't get that from from Spectrum anyway. And actually, I'm 200 megabit service now, and that's just recently been upgraded from 100 megabit. So I was perfectly happy having a 300 megabit switch on my home entertainment system. So everything that's on that 300 megabit switch, even though it's connected with Cat 5e, and even though what's on it is rated at a gigabit, wouldn't be any faster than the switch, because the switch itself is rated at 300 megabits.
Yeah,
Is that a
in
correct
that case,
statement?
you know what? You're probably the best way to look at it is you're limited by the slowest network component.
In that
That's a
chain.
good way of saying it.
In the chain, right? So if
Yeah.
you're behind something in the chain, and somewhere in the chain there's 100 megabit is your limit, then that's your limit. Even if you had a gigabit behind it and you're plugged into that, your limit is 100
Okay.
getting to the other device.
Yeah.
But another device on the network that has a slower network card isn't going to slow down the other devices.
Okay. That's what
Unless you're connecting to that device, then it's, if you were connecting your Roku to another computer, just as an example, the slowest speed would be the Roku's card.
Yeah, and some of the older switches and routers and stuff, only certain ports were gigabit and others were down to like 100 or whatever. So depending on how old it is, usually it's marked on there which ports are what speed.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Well, I know we're digressing a bit, but if we keep this line going, some of the newer computers, especially gamers' computers, will have 2 internet adapters in them.
Mhm.
What is the advantage, and how would you hook those up to get faster internet speed?
You'd be getting into like link aggregation.
Maybe.
So that would have to be supported by, I guess if that device has the two ports on it, and you had the network equipment to handle it, you could go up to like 2.5 gig speed or 10 gig. It just depends on those cards. But the operating system on that game console would have to understand how to do that.
So my Windows PC, I upgraded the motherboard last year about this time. It is a gaming motherboard. It has 2 1 gigabit adapters on the motherboard. I'm just using one of them at the moment with a cable directly to the router. If I actually took another port on the router and ran another 1 gigabit cable down to that computer and didn't do anything else, would I still just be getting 1 gigabit throughput, or would I actually be getting better throughput because I've got two channels
From the same router?
from the same router?
No, your bandwidth is limited by your router.
Right.
Okay.
It's whatever the slowest network component is. So what is your goal in the end?
Better, faster throughput, obviously, and
What?
less buffering,
Well,
less buffering.
that depends also on what you're trying to do.
Right.
Sean and I download movies. We do 30 connections simultaneously to the same server. You can do that. It will increase your data rate, but that doesn't do anything except that. And some servers won't let you do that. Some won't go over 5, some won't go over 2 or 3. I've never run one that was less than 5 though.
But you're still doing that with a single network port on the computer.
One port.
One port, right?
Right.
I'm just curious. I mean, I've got the motherboard has that capability for a second internet connection. If I go look at a device manager, I see both ports, and so that's why I was curious.
You'd need a router or a switch that's either capable of 10G or 2 special ports that somehow do link aggregation at the router level as well to give you that higher speed. And
if you were playing somebody else on your network, that's when you'd really see the difference.
Okay.
If they had the link aggregation for 2 1 gigabit ports, you could each be playing at 2 gigabits in essence, taking the internet out of it, because we don't have any. I don't think Orlando has any internet connections faster than a gig.
No, but suppose I had 2 Spectrum modems, or suppose I had AT&T and Spectrum in the house. So I took the AT&T combined modem router, which would have its output, and plugged it into one of my LAN ports, and then took the Spectrum modem and separate router and took that cable and plugged it into the other. Again, the question is, would the computer know to do this on its own, or would I have to load some apps or something in there to say, hey, you've got, you know, twice the bandwidth capability because you've got 2 network cards on your motherboard.
I don't think
Yes,
you would
in
get
theory, that would
greater.
work.
I don't think you would get greater speed though,
You-
necessarily.
If you had the right equipment, you could do that, because you could have, like, for instance, pfSense has the ability to have 2 WAN connections. So I could have, as Mike's saying, I could have 2 modems, and if they were both at gigabit, and they were both plugged, their output was going into one pfSense, and pfSense was, and that's my router. And if I had configured that to switch between the two, that can be done.
Yeah, but that's a software answer.
That is kind of, yeah, it's both.
Because how many WinSockets you got? Okay, since Mike sees 2, he's got 2. Okay, a lot of us,
Yeah.
you know, even on a gaming board, you get 1 WinSocket. So in order to change that, you have to change the Windows configuration to get 2 WinSockets. That's what connects the system back in to serial data, because you're getting packets. All you're doing is just coding packets.
Right.
Right. The device would have to know how to handle that.
Yes.
There's a lot of things that are moving here, right? You've got his game console would have to know to use both network cards and aggregate them so that it's using more than a gigabit. It'd be using up, 1 3/4 gigabit. And then you'd also have to have the internal network, the switches, and then also your router, and then your 2 modems. So I don't
And then
think here,
whatever you're talking
It's not
to
that
on
I'm
the
going to
other
do it.
side.
I was just curious. So,
but it could be done.
okay.
I mean, whatever you're talking to on the other side would need to be able to support being able to split the stream across 2
That's
different
true.
IP
There's-
addresses, too.
It'd
That's
be a heck of a project to get that
Well, it
working.
seems like these days, if you're looking at medium to upper price motherboards to build your own computer, they all come with more than one LAN connection. They're all coming with 2. And I'm thinking, okay, why are they going to that expense, even though they publicize it as being, or promote it as being, a gaming motherboard? But
Well, a good example would be, what if you're using that computer for video editing and you have a network attached storage on your network, and both your computer and your network attached storage understand how to transmit at faster than 1 gigabit. Like we're talking about aggregating. Some of them go up to 2.5 gig, some of them go to 5, some go to 10. If you got a 10 gig network and it's all internal, we don't have to talk about the router or the modems, because if your internal network has 10 gig and you're just communicating from your computer to the LAN to the network attached storage, and you're modifying videos and so forth, that would be a very good reason to have 2 ports on there, or just one video card that has a 10 gig connection. But I think it is faster to have 2 cards. That's over my head, but that would be a good reason to have 2 cards like that.
okay. Well, I doubt that I'll ever pursue that, but it was just came to mind as we got into that discussion.
Yeah.
Okay, Gary, have you got something you'd like to share with us today? You got your internet connection reconnected?
I
Are
don't
you?
see him.
I see him on the right of my screen with his. No, he's not moving. All right, so I guess that's just a residual image that's still there. Forrest, you're up.
No, sir, not this evening. Thank you, though.
Okay. Paul Colton.
Okay, so I got a few things to talk about, and if nothing else, I'll try to be entertaining.
You always are.
So this here is a cycling switch for air conditioning for a car. Basically, it closes at one pressure, it opens at another pressure. They go bad, and they may not open, or they may not close it, or they may cycle at the wrong pressures. But sometimes you just want to jump it out, and you got to get a little wire, and you got to get down to the connector. And I've changed lots of these. So I got this idea of cutting one in half and just using it as a jumper so that I could just plug it right into the connector.
Yeah, we can see the
Without
contacts.
having to mess around. But what was really interesting, after I took it apart, how does this thing work? Basically, this is the other half. The pressure comes in through this connector on the pipe, and then it goes in, and there's a little disc, which is probably like a calibrated disc. You can't see it. It's not flat, but it's a little disc. There's a rise in it, and I think pressure presses on that, and with enough pressure, it moves forward, and in this little thing here,
Raise your hand a little higher. There you go.
okay, so one end presses on the button, and the other backside presses on the switch. And that's the switch. It's just a little switch. You just press down and it closes. And that's the whole thing.
And what does it do again?
It's the cycling switch for the air conditioning.
So when what cycling is the compressor that's being driven by the engine?
Right, cycles the compressor.
Okay.
And so what I've done here is I soldered the switch together. So now it's always closed, so I can just plug it in and use it for a jumper. My next thing, and I've been working on this. My wife has been a graphic artist. Well, she's an artist, and she's retired, and she's doing sculpture for the last
Raise it a little higher, Paul.
10 to 15 years. But before that, she was doing graphic art. And so she's got this printer, which is an Epson high-end printer. It's like about 1.5 feet long or 2 feet long. It takes very wide papers, and it does professional quality printing. It stopped working, and since she's not using it, she hasn't been using it, and it's connected to her Macintosh G4, an oldie but goldie. She still uses the computer for editing and a lot of other graphic things, but she doesn't print from it anymore. So now that I'm involved, I'm coming up to speed on all this tech stuff, because I don't go near her stuff really. So, but anyway, I watched a bunch of videos, and she says, it uses 6 color cartridges for color. There's like red, 2 blues, black, and a bunch of other colors. And these are the cartridges. And on the backside where it plugs in, there's a hole, a female hole, and the print head has got the male piece, and this just plugs right in. So if you go into the utility to clean the head and it doesn't work anymore, you're kind of like out of luck. So I Googled, and what they've got now is this, you have to get the carriage with the print head in the middle of the printer, and then you connect this syringe right to the tube, and the other end goes on the male portion of the print head, and then you inject the solution, and you can inject as much or as little as you like, and hopefully it'll clear up the print head if it's really got some hardened ink in there. So there's all different solutions that people use. You can buy the regular stuff, which I don't know what it is, but there's a stuff that Apple sells. But people use alcohol and a Windex combination. Some use deionized water and alcohol. People are using all kinds of stuff. I don't know what the best is yet, and I haven't actually got to this level that I gotta do this kind of surgery on it. But the one problem I have is that the videos I've seen on this printer, when the carriage is in the home position, there's a door on the container that houses all the inks, and you can open up the door, but you can't open up the door in the middle of the printer. It's got to be all the way on the right at the home position, and that's not where you want to clean, because you got to put paper towels under this to catch the cleaning solution. So I may have to disassemble the printer to get the top off so I can move the carriage in the middle. So I'm right in the middle of doing test pages, and thankfully she's got some inks, because if an ink is low, the printer just shuts down. It won't let you do anything. So I put some inks in it, and I'm just started on this like yesterday. I've been coming up to speed for the last week, but I just physically started yesterday. So that's kind of where I am.
Couple of quick questions. How old is the printer?
I don't know, 10 years old.
Okay, and it gives us and how long had the ink been sitting in the printer and not used?
Well, that's probably part of the problem. Was before it stopped working. I remember she was trying to use it and put inks in it, and it just wasn't printing the yellow. That was the biggest problem. So before I ripped it apart, and before I start squirting this solution in there, that wasn't step one. Step one was, step one is step one, finding out what's not really working.
But would you say it had been a couple years that she hadn't used it?
Oh yeah, it's been sitting there so that's probably made the problem worse, but it is what it is,
Yeah.
But anyway, the last test page I printed was better than I expected. So if I could, get away with doing a nozzle cleaning, or without having to disassemble this and putting all this crap fluid through it, that would be nice. But I'll tell you where it goes in another month. And the other thing.
Hey, Paul.
Yeah.
So you can't is the main issue that you can't get the head to stop in the middle?
Oh, you can get it to stop in the middle.
Oh, okay.
But you can't open up the door to access the area, because the hole on the right side is large. And when it slides into the middle of the carriage back and forth, it's a much narrower open area, so you can't open up the door.
I have an Epson workforce that's the same way.
One guy on
I have an Epson workforce that's just like that.
I saw a guy take the door off, which would definitely be the nice solution. Except when he took the door off, I saw what he did on the video, but he didn't care about putting it back on. So he just took this one piece on the right side of the hinge and just kind of opened it, and it broke off, and then he pulled the door off from the left. But
luckily they don't have a switch there that checks to see if the door is closed before the heads will move again.
Well, I wondered about that myself as a fail-safe, but I haven't tried to do anything with the door open, because I figured that would be a really stupid thing. So, I didn't go down that path. I don't intend to. But anyway, I'll see where I go with it. And on all of these printers, they have counters, and they count the ink strokes. And why they do that is because there's a pad in every printer has got a pad. Every inkjet printer's got a pad. And when the pad fills up, they consider the printer done. And they count the amount of ink strokes or nozzle cycles. And all printers do this. And when you have so many nozzle cycles, the printer just shuts down. Now, some printers you can replace the pad. It's a major thing to open it up, got to clean it out, got to get a pad. And then you got to reset the counter, which I read about that. It requires software and all kinds of, unless you're kind of in the business, I'm not sure, I can pull that off, or anybody else around knows how to pull that off. But I didn't pay much attention to that, but I did come on that video by accident, and just more stuff to stick in my head to know about,
Hey, Paul,
Yeah,
what model is the printer?
1400. It's an Epson
1400.
Stylus Photo 1400.
What does a new one cost?
I have no idea.
Maybe it'd be worth saving your time and spending a few bucks.
Well, on this printer, it's more than a few bucks. You're not buying this for $200.
Oh,
This is something Paul and I talk about whenever he's into one of these repair jobs. I'll usually interrupt him about halfway through and say, wouldn't it be easier just to get a new whatever it is that he's repairing? But
You're here.
There's a lot
but half
of
the
things.
challenge really is finding out how something works and can you fix it?
Yeah,
After you get it all fixed, then you're going to find out you can't buy any more cartridges for it.
well, no, you can always buy cartridges. Those are Epson and all these companies. They love to sell ink. That's how they make their money. So, and the last thing I'm going to talk about here, and this will be real quick, is on my airplane. And I know some of you are going to understand, some won't, but when I was coming in for landing a couple of weeks ago, and I was looking at my instrument landing needles called the localizer, and that basically gives me, I don't use it unless you're in instrument conditions and you can't see, and it allows you to line yourself visually with the center line of the runway. So, and when you're to the left, it tells you to fly to the right. To the right, it tells you to fly to the left. And what it is, you can see the needle. The center needle is vertical, swings back and forth. Anyway, so I noticed, and I have two of these in the airplane. I noticed this one, the deflection wasn't right. It wasn't swinging with the other one. So I was going to take to the instrument shop, but I figured I've got experience with repairing things, localizers and stuff like this, and I've worked on these things before. I haven't worked on this head before, but I've worked on other ones. And, I do have the license to fix these things. Anyway, so I got a scope, I got a signal generator, I got schematics, and I got the maintenance manual in my computer. So I got all the stuff. So anyway, and I got a power supply, variable power. So I cranked everything up. Basically, it takes a composite signal and it strips off. It's like amplitude modulation, where you strip away the amplitude and you're left with audio. Well, FM, FM strips away the carrier and you're left with the audio. But anyway, what this does, it strips off the frequency that is coming in, and you're left with two tones, 90 cycles and 150 cycles. And when you're on the right side, it receives one frequency. On the other side, it receives the other frequency. When you're in the middle, the signals are nulled out and the needle is centered. And that's the theory of it. So, I kind of went through it. I spent most of the week on it last week, and everything seemed to be working okay. Now, I don't have the sophisticated stuff an avionics shop has, but I do have some stuff in the maintenance manual about how much signal to get in and what should happen. And I did find a bad capacitor on the input of the power supply. It's got a power supply inside the unit, takes 12 volts, then it makes 9 volts and 4 volts. But, you know, this was on the input to the power supply. I'm saying to myself, that's not going to do jack. What's that going to change? But, you know, I spent the week looking at it and I let it run all day to see if there was any change, if anything would stop, if anything would, you know, I put enough signal into it until I get full needle deflection, and I just let it sit there for hours. And, you know, I didn't see anything quit or change. So, you know, I did all I could do. Now I'm going to put it back in the airplane and fly it, but I'll see what happens. I don't know if this, I put a new capacitor in. It's like a 47 capacitor, a 47 microfarad capacitor.
Hey, Paul. You know, the DC is made in that thing through a multivibrator, an inverter. You take DC,
No,
okay, or they take, okay, they've just got regulators. That's all they've got then.
yeah.
Okay, so they're just regulators. If
This
there's
is
any
transition.
noise coming in through that regulator, it'll mix with the 90 and 150, and that'll drive the needles one way or the other. Otherwise, it just whatever comes out of your receiver. So
Well, you know, because my DC here is so pure, you know, and I did think about that. The DC I'm running is off a Hewlett Packard power supply. It's pure, you know, but in the airplane, you get that alternator clicking on, you know, and the regulator and all of that crap. And this voltage comes through the radio. It doesn't come directly off the 12-volt bus. So another thing I can try is I got 2 radios and I can swap the inputs. I can put that input from the other radios and then see if the problem stays where it is or if the problem moves.
take your scope and take a look at the DC output from the regulators and see if you see any noise on those things at all. If you see noise, then something's generating it. As you say, you've got a pure DC supply. So if there's any noise on it, that'll affect the 2 frequencies that it decodes. It's an FM transmitter, by the way, on the ground, 2 of them.
Right. FM?
Yeah, it's FM. It's at the end of the runway.
Is it AM or FM? And then
FM. One time I could have told you the frequencies even, but it's been too long since I
well,
did that.
you know, localizer frequencies is like 109, 110, 120, up to 117. So
yeah, right. That's frequency. So it's FM, because if it was AM, you couldn't use it in a thunderstorm. It'd be so full of crap, you couldn't use it.
right.
So you have to clip it and then decode it laterally rather than vertically. If you decode it vertically, that would be AM. So you clip it to one level, and then, but that clipping should all be done in the radio. The radio just provides the 2 tones.
And
That's all it should provide.
my frequency generator only goes up to a half a megacycle. It goes way down to damn near nothing, but it only goes up to a half a megacycle. So I was able to put that in, and at least I traced out that frequency as far as I could before it stripped everything off, and everything was passing. And then I put in a 90 cycle signal, and it passed through all that stuff, and it went into the 90 cycle filter, and it passed through, and it swung the needle, and I looked at all the voltages. I'll see what happens. You know, this thing, capacitor, maybe it'll make a difference. We'll see.
I'd almost bet on it that it will, because you're just getting noise through there, and that's causing the problem. Is the capacitor shorted? It's not. It's open.
Open.
Okay.
When we started the conversation, you mentioned you have 2. So your plane is a dual control aircraft? You said you have 2 of these locator.
Right, I've got 2 of these indicators. And
Oh,
2
not
radios.
installed in the aircraft. You just happen to have 2 of them.
No, 2 in the airplane.
2 in the airplane. Okay, so
Right, but
one's
only-
on the
only
right,
one
one's on
radio.
the left.
One radio, though.
No, 2 radios, 1 radio per indicator.
Okay, so you have a redundant setup.
Right,
So you've got the ability then to swap the indicators between the radios.
right. That's what I just said.
Okay, all right. I misunderstood that.
Maybe you, yeah. I'm,
Okay.
I'm rolling along pretty quick here, so.
No, that's all right.
So.
All
yeah,
righty.
So that's about, oh, hey, I got a question here. While I'm sitting here listening to everybody, I'm looking at my email and I get this email that came in at 5 o'clock today. It says, join this. Now, this has nothing to do with us. The email says, join the Zoom meeting. It says, oh, the subject is join Zoom meeting in progress. And then in the text part of it, it says, join Zoom meeting and the URL stuff, and then the meeting and the password. So, and it's also got an email associated with it. But I looked through all my recorded emails in my email address book, and nothing. And you can do a search. You just type in the letters and anything that and after the third letter, I mean, nothing.
So in essence, what you got was a Zoom phishing attack.
So
attempt.
Could this be some kind of scam thing that I've never heard?
Could be. I haven't heard of it happening, but why not? There are people that try to get into Zoom meetings. Why not start a Zoom meeting and trying to get people to come in and then pitch them or get on their computers or whatever?
I mean, there's no name. There's no name associated with it or organization or anything like that.
Interesting.
But why would somebody want you to? So, I did click on the link before this meeting on my Windows 10
Well,
computer.
that's the other thing is that could be dangerous, and that's the link itself might be a phony link. It might say Zoom on the screen,
That's
but
it.
if you mouse over it and look down at your status bar at the bottom of your browser, it may be something entirely different.
Yeah, it may not take you to a Zoom meeting at all.
Yeah.
It may take you to a downloader.
Actually, I'm doing that right. I'm doing that right now, and it's the exact address. But I think it said something like, when I did it, it said something like the meeting has ended or some kind of crap like that.
Okay. I would never join a meeting or click on something if I didn't know what it was.
I didn't know if this is something new that's happening.
Could be. The inverse of Zoom bombing is Zoom phishing.
It would be really stupid for somebody to send out a Zoom and not put somebody's name on it.
Yeah, it's entirely possible. Ted, I know sometimes you are, you only have a short time frame. Do you have anything to share with us today?
Yeah, while you're on the screen, move your mic a little bit to the left.
Okay.
Well, your other left, to the right.
Okay, now it's to the right.
Did you notice that it disappeared?
Oh yeah, stuff will disappear because of my background. Yeah, I can.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I can now. I've got it totally out of the picture, but the microphone is. Let's see, there it is. See, and now we'll just go. Now it's out of the. Yeah, that's the way the background works.
Huh.
I get my hand to disappear too. If slowly. Well, sometimes the hand will disappear.
Yeah, I didn't put my.
He has a magic microphone.
Yeah. This microphone, by the way, all the money that I spent on AV stuff when we were broadcasting live and streaming, getting unidirectional microphones and getting a boom mic and all the rest of that stuff. This is, I don't know, a little $10 accessory from the early 90s with a simple phono jack on the end that plugs into the microphone on the computer.
You buy it from Radio Shack?
I who knows where I bought it. I mean, I just needed a microphone on the computer and got an absolute cheapo. And people tell me it's as good as any microphone they've ever used for Zoom. I mean,
it's excellent.
If you look at what Huey's got when he does his professional things, he's got this big radio mic with the diffuser in front of it, and he's got the arm for it. And I'm sure he paid a few bucks for that. You know, so I suppose I could put this on an extender arm and put it above my head. But yeah.
So in reality, there's only one ship behind you.
I think that's two masts of the same ship. I think either that or there's two ships side by side. I'd have to go look at the full picture, the frame that just came up.
Oh, okay.
So what have you got to share with us technically? Anything?
I read an article and it was in a email sent out by some damn political system. So I couldn't get it out of there, but I thought it was appropriate for our session. Somewhere, I think I wrote down the name, but I can't find it right now. But it was a GO. Well, I forget.
Okay. But what was the problem with the email itself? Was it phishing? Trying to get you to click on a link or?
No, it was a damn political party wanted a donation.
There you go. Sure.
That's scam to me.
Well, once they hook you, for example, I wrote letters to our state senators and our federal senator and House representatives on a medical issue I'm having that I'm not getting a satisfaction to. So they all, you know, replied to me that they've received it and they would consider what I was requesting and that I would hear something from them. And to a person, that's the governor of the state, the two federal senators, I didn't go to the one House representative, not my party, and then the state senator and the state House. But I'm getting all kinds of requests for donations from them. So that's just the way the system works. Once they've got you in there, they'll send you requests.
3 or 4 a day.
It all works on money.
Yeah.
Okay, Dick Vogel, what you got for us?
Hey, I gave you my best shot. I'm sorry. I'm looking at your clock though, and that seems very appealing. So I might just buy one.
Earlier, for those that arrived late, we were talking about the various different Echo devices and how they display time. And Dick had mentioned that he had gotten a new Echo Spot that actually has a digital display of time on it, and it's synchronized to the web and the time server. And I mentioned that I had an Echo wall clock. It's about a 10-inch diameter clock, and it links to one of the Echo devices that you decide to link it to. It gets its time signal from there, and then if you tell the Echo device that you want a timer, it'll display it around the rim if it's less than an hour, or to remember it and then show it to you. So it's just a nice wall clock. Okay, Peter, what you got for us?
I don't have much. I haven't done too much with tech stuff lately, but I did convince my wife and I've ordered an AirPod Max headset. I'm 3 weeks in the 6-week delivery cycle. So
those are Bluetooth earpods or ear device?
Yeah, so it's like the full one, sort of like what I'm wearing now, but it's Bluetooth and it's supposed to pair both to the phone and the Mac. So I'm kind of excited to see how it works with my work computer.
And is it designed to be a hi-fi type thing with good fidelity return?
Yeah, it's got something crazy like 7 microphones, and they have the transparency mode, so you can let outside air in, but it's got noise cancellation, and it's has everything supposedly you could want. So, but you can't go anywhere and actually try them. So, with their money back guarantee, I decided to try it and for 30 days and see if we like it.
Good. Okay. Gary, I see you're back with us. Can you unmute yourself and talk, or is your connection good enough?
It's been lousy all night.
If you like, you can leave your video off and just talk to us. That might make a better connection.
It says I have
Yeah, you just broke up.
stable internet, silicon chip, an Apple silicon chip version of Zoom. So I installed that, but then I realized it didn't take effect until I rebooted it. So I had to reboot. And then I was going to connect an Ethernet cable from my computer to the AT&T router, and I realized there's no place to plug in. So anyway, I'm going to be calling AT&T after this meeting. Can you hear me at all?
Yes, yes, you're coming through now. Although your video freezes periodically and it's frozen.
Oh,
I think. There you go.
What's that?
Well, I was going to suggest you turn your video off and just talk to us, and you may get a better connection.
Well, what I was going to show you, I was going to need my video.
Oh, okay. Well, give it a try. Let's.
Okay.
We'll see.
You look good right now.
Yeah.
How many people have Hoist? A Hoist.
VoIP voice.
A Hoist for
Oh,
lifting
hoist,
things.
hoist. No.
Hoist for lifting things. No? Nobody
Yeah,
here owns a Hoist? Okay.
I
Well,
have a jack. Does that count?
If it's too heavy, I let my wife do it.
found a really cool. I mean, this is technical, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So this is called a tough tug. I'm not used to the screen being backwards. And what's cool about it is it has.
Oh, you froze up.
Locking mechanism. So when you lifting up, it locks it, and then when you bring the rope down, then it will let go. And it's I'm going to be reciting my house and using two hoists now.
Yeah, you're dropping in and out.
Pulley cover. Oh, is it coming in and out? So I made this.
Well,
pulley cover.
we've seen it now. What you might want to do is turn the video off and then describe what you were talking about, because I think your audio will continue to connect.
Well, and then I had to when I 3D printed it, there's like the inside shim, and then the two sides, and then if you don't have a cover over your pulleys, I haven't installed it on this one yet. Is these things that's without the cover, and what happens is they'll turn inside out, and you've got to tangle all the time. So anyway, I've been playing with hoists and getting ready to reside my house. So other than that, technical wise, computer. Sorry, I've been using a lot. So I use the Z Sure scanner. Let's see. Let me turn off the audio, the video.
Yeah, I think that'll let you talk to us a lot better.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we
Yes.
got you. Well, we did have you.
So I bought one of those what we call CZ Shine scanners. Remember the scanner the tabletop scanner that some of us bought?
Yeah, the one that Huey got. I've got it. Yeah.
Well, that's what I did. Is I took this block and tackle apart, scanned it with that, and then threw that, and then sized it proportionally, and then was able to draw the whole block and tackle assembly, and then designed the pulley covers or the sheath covers based on the CAD of the block and tackle. But it's pretty cool. You can lift 380 pounds with it pretty easily. I think the audio, I don't know if you can hear me at all, but I don't even know what microphone's being used anymore. I had out when I updated the Zoom, so but I can't hear anything now from anybody.
Yeah, you're dropping in and out. So when you
I
get
think
hold of
what I need-
AT&T, you may want to get them to check your connections there.
I'm going to leave the meeting because I've only been able to hear like 10% of the meeting. And what I did hear was very good and interesting.
It's being recorded, so you can play it back in the
Okay.
future. Thanks
Later.
for joining us.
Bye.
Okay, well, let's see. Stan, you're with us. Can you talk through your mask?
Yes,
What would
And
you
I'm
like to
going to-
share with us?
I'm going to open my camera because there is something I do want to show. It's a little redundant because I showed it, I'm not sure if it was a month or two ago, but it's this light that goes into a standard socket, and it's got the 3 LED panels that you can adjust and move around. So the things that happen, and I'm not going to go through everything that I did with the meeting. I had a terrible time because I took out a curly, old style LED bulb, that worked, put this in, and it didn't work. And I called the company and went through all sorts of trouble. The socket gave up in that period when I changed the bulb to this. And it was up. It's like a 12-foot ceiling, so I'm on an 8-foot ladder working on it. It was a bummer. Sean, I believe you came late to the meeting. I think I did this very first thing. And what was interesting about it is this is just had it, 6,000 lumens. It was $15 at Ollie. I believe it was one of the guys showed us one that was motion sensitive. This one is not motion sensitive, but you just work it with a switch, and that's okay. It was half the price of what he paid. And ironically, I was in Home Depot just last week, I guess, and I saw a very similar thing. It was only 4,000 lumens, and they were getting $35 for it. So Ollie's had plenty of these, and I just thought it was worth bringing up one more time. It's I can send you a note with the actual model if you wanted to look it up at Ollie's.
Are you using that for the light that's over your head now?
No, not
Okay.
at all. I just have a table lamp in front of me. I had this out in the garage,
Mm-hmm.
and it really does light it up very nicely.
Okay.
I don't think I've got, and oh yeah, there is one other thing that I was going to show you. I don't have it in front of me. I had a power supply die on my wife's computer. It's an old Dell. I think it started off as a Vista machine. It was converted to Windows 7 and then 10, whatever. The power supply died, and I contacted Bashir and Refresh, and they didn't have any. They said they were going to have to order it, and it was going to be like $60. So I Googled it, and I found one for 20. It fit perfectly, and it solved the problem. But it only has 2 power to SATA devices, and the one I was replacing had 4. So I went to Refresh to get a Y, splitter, and they don't have them. They still have them for the 4, the standard non-SATA, but they didn't have it for this. So I still had the old power supply. I hadn't scrapped it yet. So it occurred to me, I got my snips out, cut off the 2, I'm just going to use wire nuts and splice it onto the to the new power supply and solve the problem that way. Thought that was a reasonably good solution for a minor problem. And I think that's all I got for now.
Okay. I see Huey has joined us.
Ah.
Huey, I had to use your account to start the meeting tonight because Stan was having some problems. So even though my name has been changed, I think both of us are in. It's interesting that Zoom lets us both share the same account and be on at the same time.
Yep. Yeah, I was watching TV and dozed off. I just woke.
That does happen. Well, I was going to cover a lot of stuff tonight, and I thought rather than talk about each item individually, I would send an email out, which I did. And generally, it's all on following the theme of the court case out in California, which is actually a class action suit against Google for $5 billion on behalf of all the users of Chrome and Chrome browsers, and claiming that the incognito mode that Google provides in the Chrome browser does not do what Google says it does. And I haven't seen the technical details of the filing itself. I don't know if they're even public, but Google filed a motion with the judge to have the case dismissed outright. And the judge ruled against Google, and it was covered in the video that I distributed probably about 3 or 4 days ago. So I sort of followed on that thought and said, okay, let's look at the incognito mode of all the browsers, and specifically Google. I took a look at it myself because I haven't used it that much. And then I did a search on YouTube, and there were a couple of interesting videos. Theo Joe is one of them, and one of the other guys who's a techie, and both of them were basically saying, are you really getting the protection that you think you're getting if you're using incognito mode? And there was a very good technical article that actually explains step by step what actually takes place when you turn the incognito mode on of any browser, and Google Chrome in specific. And there was also a good article that's been updated from one that we talked about several months back when we were talking about browser alternatives. And it was updated as of January, and it lists 11 browsers with their security settings and their privacy settings, and they rate them. It was interesting to find that WaterFox, which is a Mozilla product or uses the Mozilla code, was in number 3 out of the 11, which is what I'm using as my primary browser. And I also included now I've got the mind blank. I included an additional browser, which was part of an antivirus package, and it's essentially free. And I put the links in on there. So everything that I was going to cover pretty much is there for those that have an interest in that. You can take a look at what I posted to the TechSIG, and then you can follow the links and you can read them and follow along. I'm sure the case itself will make the news as it progresses with all the motions that are filed, and it'd be interesting to see what comes from all of it.
You don't happen to remember what Brave rated as, do you?
Which browser?
Brave, BRAVE.
Oh yes, it was right up there also. It was up there pretty high.
Yeah, I've been using that for quite some time now.
Yeah.
I have as well.
Yep.
And your biggest objection to using the other browsers is the fact that it's taking your information and aggregating it, and you're getting ads based on it, correct?
In part, yes. The base that I've used in part of what I went out there was, say, Google as an environment. You know, God, it was probably my second or third search engine going all the way back. What was one? Wasn't one Alta Vista, something like that, way back when? And when Google came out, I started using it. Most of us probably started using it. And there were other ones along the way. And then they started coming out with their products, and it was product after product after product. And everybody has, even me, said, hey, look at all this free stuff we can get. When Grand Central, when Google bought out Grand Central, and it became part of the conglomerate, you and I had discussions about how can they continue to offer this for free? They're obviously going to have to start paying for it, and they haven't. It's still free. But what constitutes free? Well, Google isn't doing this because they're altruistic, in my opinion. So I'm offering my opinion on this. They're not doing it because they want you to be more productive. They're not doing it because they're the good guys out there that want you to have every possible capability on the web and have it for free. They are a company for profit. So they have to make money. Where does the money come from? It comes from the metadata. It comes from the data that they market, the way they market it, the advertising that they can get placed, all of that. So I then fall back a little bit. Most of you know Arvin Meyer, and Arvin, to me at the time, was the guy with the tinfoil hat who was saying, I'm warning you guys, Google is, they're watching you. I'll turn to all my devices here and wave. But I have begun to believe that that's exactly the case.
Okay, I got some questions. I got some questions for you, Mike.
Okay, go ahead.
Do you have any of those little reward cards when you go to a store and use them to get special deals? Winn-Dixie,
coupons?
No, the little cards that go on your key ring.
Mm.
The little teeny cards.
Oh, I used to, yeah.
Do you have any? You don't use any now? You don't have any?
No.
Okay.
But
they track your information. Do you have a credit card?
Yeah.
Okay. They track everything you buy.
Yeah.
But they do it. They tell you they're doing that. Google says they're doing a search so you can find things, but they don't tell you what you're paying for that search.
I think everybody knows it, though. I don't have a problem with them knowing that I'm searching for, let's say, a little shelf for my TV, for my monitor stand, and now I'm getting ads for monitor stands. So what?
Well,
we're no longer talking about incognito mode, right?
Well,
No,
we started
correct.
talking about our incognito
Yeah, but I
mode,
think
Google's business
incognito.
model.
You use incognito mode because you're concerned about this, and I just again, it goes back to wearing the tinfoil hats. I don't
Well, for the
worry about
longest time, I was with you on this, Huey. I really
Yeah.
was.
it.
And
I don't worry about it. Let 'em-
part of it, I will admit right up front, part of this is partisan. Okay. And what was done with that data and the restrictions that were put on people. I won't define who people are. As a result of their partisan orientation and the data that showed what they were doing and who they were contributing to and what they were saying. And I have a very big conflict right now, because I'm going to say, off the top of my head, 60% of the entertainment I watch is on YouTube. It's a Google product. It's what I watch is being tracked.
Do you have a Roku
Am I-
or a Fire Stick?
Yes, but that data is not tracked the same way, nor is it used the same way.
They're tracking it.
Oh,
They
I
know
know.
exactly what you watch and how much you watch it, and they use that information. They sell that information.
But they may use that just to include certain features and so forth, knowing that a majority of the people like them. And so that's what they'll pursue.
If big tech, in quotes, was not censoring data based on the profiles that they have of the individuals who are posting and choosing when to show it and when not to show it, choosing when to cut it out and edit it and when to not do that, based on a particular point of view, whether it's a political point of view, whether it's a medical point of view, views that they just don't agree with, that their corporate policy establishes. It's very difficult for me to talk from a technical standpoint as opposed to talk from a personal standpoint. The only other parallel I can give you is I used to subscribe to Fox News when I had cable, and I could watch what I related to all the way through on the news broadcasts. Well, now that I don't use cable, and now that I use streaming with my Roku, there are Fox News segments posted on YouTube. Those Fox News segments are edited. You can tell. If it's an hour-long show, take the commercials out, it's probably 40 minutes. Take the actual broadcast of the individual show, it's anywhere from 20 minutes or so. And as someone's talking and they get to a subject that's not politically correct or not medically correct or not within whatever the editorial guidelines are of YouTube, the show's over. That's it. Show's over. We're not even going to continue. Even though up front in the show, the host has said, this is who's going to be on tonight. These are the things we're going to cover. And so I stay and I watch and it's gone. Okay, they've done that. So to me, that's editing that's inappropriate. And if I had an alternative to the entertainment side of things with YouTube, I might take it. I might. I haven't decided yet whether that's something that's strong enough that I'm going to. But I do have the choice of what browser I use, thankfully. So I've chosen for me what I consider the most private browser. I do have a choice of the operating system I'm going to use. And I'm not saying Windows doesn't track me. I certainly have turned off as much of the privacy functions as I can, you know, or the tracking functions in Windows. There's about, what, 2 pages worth that you can check and uncheck. There may be things going on anyway that we don't have. And so I choose, I think I posted it in my post today. I've probably used my Chromebook for the last time. It was a difficult decision because I think it's a great piece of tech, but I don't want the Chromebook monitoring me every step of the way, everything that I do when I use it. I've got other alternatives now. I use a Linux operating system and I use a Mozilla-based browser. So there's no Google involved in that at all, and there won't be.
Hey, Mike.
Yep.
You're an ideal candidate for the Pi-hole.
For the what?
For Pi-hole.
Yes. Yes. Yep. It's just something that more and more people are paying attention to these days. And probably when Judy did her presentation for CFCS, I thought that was an excellent presentation. I mean, it showed from a technical standpoint all the great things that you can do with the Google universe. And then I sat back and I thought about it and I said, yeah, okay, what's that costing us to use those things? Oh, it's free. They're all free products. You know, everything she presented to us was free. But Google is aggregating data as you use those products. And so that's the trade-off. That's what it's costing. So that's my personal opinion, and that's what I've shared. And I didn't want to get into a big to-do about it, but that's why I also sent the email out, just to let you guys take a look. If you're interested in it, you look at it. If you're not, you press on. So
Appreciate it, Mike.
I'd like to comment that the TV ads provide the TV, you know, for many years, we had to listen to the ads until we got DVRs, and there were workarounds. You could record and then watch it recorded, so you didn't have to see the ads. You could fast forward through them. Inconvenience, but it seems to me there are workarounds for the tracking that Google is doing, and as Huey said, so they know what you're looking for. Is that really that much of a thing? That I don't know.
Today I was comparing 4K television sets, and I've been doing that probably, you know, for 2 years or longer. I see your hand up, Paul, and you're muted, but I'll just make this really, really quick. And there's some great sets out there that I'm considering, but I will tell you that after seeing what all the features were of all the sets, then the guys there's 3 or 4 people I follow on YouTube. then the features of the operating systems of the TVs were covered. And quite frankly, if I could get a 75-inch monitor, that's all I would get. And then I would go ahead and use one of the streaming boxes with it. But they all come, they're smart TVs. So those TVs that have certain operating systems that are known to monitor people, just like all the other products they put out, I took off my list of candidates. And I'm still got some very good television sets and some very good prices that I can consider. When I get it, I don't know. My old Sony, it's probably 15 years old now, is still going strong.
So I got a little input here.
Go ahead.
Mike and I have talked about TVs quite a few times. Yesterday, I needed to run down to Home Depot, and I've been wanting to get over to Best Buy's for weeks to look at TVs, and I usually don't have time because I'm so busy on my property here. But I had some extra time yesterday. The weather was crappy, and I really wasn't motivated to really do much of anything. So I got over to Best Buy's, and I told the guy, I said, "Look, here's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a Samsung. I need a lot of HDMI inputs," and I talked about a 240 refresh rate versus 120. So he says, "Okay, I got two sets to show you." And he didn't have them on the floor. What he had was like a much larger set, but he said the 55-inch sets, which he showed me on his phone because he looked up the set. He says it's the same set, just smaller. And so he says the one with the 120 refresh rate got 3 HDI inputs, and it's an LED set. And the other one is a Q LED set with 4 HDMI inputs.
One of them's an audio return, ARC.
They both had the same features, but one had one more HDMI at a faster refresh rate, and that one was $1,100 versus 500 and change.
Wow.
So there was a big difference there. Of course, the set I got right now that I'm using, that's got some kind of, I worked on the tuner, it crapped out. It only takes HDMI, and it's got this ringing noise in it, and I have to go over and push on something and it goes away. So that's why I'm looking at sets. But other than that, it works okay. It's in the living room. It's a 46-inch set, and that's got a 240 refresh rate. I paid like $1,000 for that set, probably back in 2009, 2010. And it's a good set. I probably wouldn't even be looking, but that's the living room set. I don't watch the living room set. I'm usually in my office here like almost 100% of the time.
Let me ask you a question about the existing set. How many HDMI inputs does it have at the moment?
I don't know.
More than one, but several.
It's got I think 2 or 3, but it's got the video and audio inputs.
Okay. Now the newer ones usually don't have the legacy.
Right. They do not.
Video. So
I need extra HDMI so I can get a video to HDMI converter. Right.
Yeah. There's two trains of thought that in the research I've been doing. The first train of thought is the TV with its operating system becomes the center of your entertainment center, and your home theater amplifier is used only for sound. And interestingly enough, a lot of the manufacturers are focusing on improving the sounds of those TVs. Sony and Samsung especially have got some new designs designed to make the TV a standalone entertainment device without even having the need for a speaker system of any kind. But you can certainly add a speaker bar if you want. Go ahead.
They're
Huey's-
both smart TVs, which
Okay.
I don't really care about. But
Well-
Mindy never does anything special. You know, I mean, she's got the news stations on most of the time.
But what you do watch that requires an HDMI cable, is it plugged into the TV or is it plugged into your home theater amplifier?
No, I don't use home theater.
You don't use home theater. Okay.
No, so DirecTV goes into HDMI. The Roku goes into HDMI. And
And then how do you listen to the sound from the TV set itself?
yeah.
Oh, okay. All
Of
right.
course, if I'm not in there, she's not going to do anything special because she doesn't know how to do
Okay.
the tech stuff.
So you want multiple HDMI inputs. Okay.
Yeah.
Huey, you'd raised your hand.
Yeah, there's a new standard that the TV stations are all going to be going to. I don't remember what it's called. Are you, when you're looking for a new TV, are you considering that?
ATSC
Yeah.
3,
I think. Yeah,
3.1 or 3 or 3.1. Yeah.
yeah, something like
Yeah.
that.
And it's going to have the new Dolby Vision capability and better HDR and off the air and so on. That, at least from my standpoint, that was going to be one of the things until I bought a Tableau, which is an off the air DVR that then sends its signal over the internet to my Roku or my Amazon system. So even though the TV has an off the air capability, it'll be the Tableau that I want to have that ATSC 3.0 so that it can then be recorded and played back when I want to watch it. But you're right. If you buy a TV today in 2022 or 2023, the sets that'll be announced at CES and then will then be in the marketplace after those will likely be the new off-the-air standards for those people that are using off-the-air television.
Is that TABLEAU?
That
Tableau?
I haven't heard before.
No, Tableau. You said Tableau.
Oh, Tableau. I'm sorry. Yes, TABLO.
LO. Okay.
Mhm. It's the Tableau that I have is a quad, so it has 4 tuners. And I had looked at a number of off-the-air DVRs before. What made me buy it was the fact that there is no output from it other than internet. You can connect an Ethernet cable to it or connect it to Wi-Fi. And then your Roku picks up the signal and you use the Roku or my Amazon Fire Stick, either one. And then you bring up the Tableau app and you can choose which things to record and which things to play back and so on.
Yeah, I have the dreaded Google TV as my provider over the of streaming, and they have an unlimited DVR capability, so I don't have to worry about having a separate
YouTube TV.
Yeah, it's a YouTube TV.
Yeah. I had gotten that about the same time I think you did when we were both looking at it. And as I remember, their entry level price was around $25 a month to start.
Yeah, I think I'm
now it's 70 something.
70. Yeah, 60 or 70, 65, 70.
And I started looking at all the things I wasn't watching. And I said, geez, I'm paying $70, but I'm not watching this and I'm not watching that. And if I drop that instead, I could watch Netflix, which I was anyway. And then Netflix stopped having a lot of things I wanted to watch, but HBO Max was streaming real time, in theater movies as soon as they were released. So their price was right around the Netflix, so I switched to them.
And then I considered putting an outside antenna up. I'm far enough away from Tampa to have an outside antenna. I got to go really high. So I went, when Locast came into the area, I went ahead and used Locast, but Locast free is every few minutes they throw ads on, and then every 10 or 15 minutes it signs you out. You have to sign back in. A real pain. For $5 a month, that all goes away. So for $5 a month, I'm paying for Locast. I know Locast is available in the Orlando area.
Yes, I saw that.
And every channel that you would get if you had the best antenna in the area outside of your house, that's what you're going to get with Lowcast.
But they don't have a DVR capability yet.
Don't have the DVR.
They may.
But they probably won't because of all the lawsuits against them.
Oh, okay.
The TV stations don't like them at all.
Yeah.
And they're all suing them wherever they are, but they're a nonprofit organization and that's how they've been getting around a lot of this. They're a service. And, but I'm real happy with Lowcast for the local stations. I can get everything without any, well, not snow, but without any pixelation or without any problems. And I've been really pleased with it for $5 a month.
Now, getting back to what Paul was discussing when I was discussing earlier, do you have, for Huey, do you have a home theater set up, or are you getting everything from the TV?
Everything from the TV. I had,
and do you have?
I had at one time. I had a sound bar.
Yeah.
But the current one I have, actually the speaker's not bad because they all have the speaker going out the back, and if it's against the wall, it really sounds horrible. But this one isn't too bad, and the one in the bedroom isn't bad as well. And the sound bar was an older one, and it was hard for me to connect it anyway. But and also the new one has legs on it that the sound bar won't sit in front of it properly.
So more and more,
it's sitting in my closet.
More and more, I'm seeing the designs of the. I personally wonder why, but I understand why. Listening to you and Paul, that they are developing sound capability for the TVs that's much better than it used to be.
Yeah, but most of them have the speakers headed towards the back, and it hits the wall, and it really doesn't give you a good quality.
The latest, I think it was the latest Sony, this H90. I can't think of all the. It's an XBR 8, 6, whatever, H90 sets. Some very good reviews on YouTube, and they showed as they unboxed it and they turned it around, you could see the ports for the audio, both in the front and firing down because it's up on a stand, firing down and out, and also from the sides. And then, yes, you're right, from the back. And it has computer sensing to determine if you've mounted it on the wall, which limits what can come out from the back, or if you put it on a stand and its stand is sitting on a console and then close to the wall. And then they can echo off the wall and do its thing. So I haven't heard it, but it's supposed to be much better. Yes, Ken.
Got a couple things. I'm going to have to go here.
Okay.
Paul, I checked on it. It is AM. Modulation's AM. On the
localizer.
Localizer, yeah.
Okay.
What I'm confused was the antenna matching on the glide slope. The localizer is a two-way. The glide slope is a one-way transmission. So that was that. The other one was for Peter. I have my headsets and I have hearing aids which connect to my computer through Bluetooth, and there's an absolutely unsuitable delay. I hope you don't have that problem. So because it is unsuitable if you're trying to watch a movie or something like that. There's just enough difference between lip movement and what you get in your headset to irritate you. That may not be true in the game.
Ken, let me ask you a quick question about that. How old are those earbuds or ear hearing aids?
A year.
Okay, so that's fairly current then.
Yeah, not quite a year.
I've got a
But
friend.
I got them from the VA, so who knows how old it is.
Yeah, no, I've got a friend. He also got them from the VA, and he got them about 2 months ago. And he was saying pretty much the same thing. He says, I just can't listen to my TV with what you guys gave me. And they gave him something that's brand new, and it's got a box, and the box, broadcasts to the earbuds.
My son-in-law.
And he says they're perfect. He says
My son-in-law.
whatever they did, they've solved the problem. So it's something to check with the VA on.
Yeah, my son-in-law has that. It's a box you wear on a chain around your neck.
Well, this box sits like a Roku does down on the TV itself, and then sends Bluetooth.
My goodness, yeah. No, he had a box that hung around your neck. I'm not going to wear that. It's
Yeah.
like
No,
you have to hold that up and say, "Hey," So I don't want to do that. The other
Yeah,
thing,
we'll find out. I'll email the group once I get mine tested.
yeah, okay, that will be interesting. And I got
The,
one
the
other
newest
thing for you.
technology is supposed to be pretty good.
I got one other
Hey.
thing. I bought that, Sean,
Yeah.
I bought one of those garage lights. And you can't even look at the damn thing. It's so bright.
Oh, really?
It's
The one like Stan was showing?
no, this is even more powerful.
Oh, really?
Well, I do a lot of woodwork in my garage, and I've been using 2 8-foot tubes out there.
Send send Sean the
Can you
the,
get my?
the link or the model that you're using so he can post it. You muted yourself, Ken.
Let me put this up.
Oh, okay.
And
Are you trying to share your screen? I need to make you co-host. Hang on a second.
He's muted again.
Hang on. I'm making you a
Ken, you're
co-host.
muted again.
Ken, you're muted.
Okay, you're muted, Ken, and I just made you co-host. You can share your screen. You're still muted. You're muted, Ken.
oh, I got to.
There you go. Okay. And you can share your screen now. No,
He's
it's
unmuted.
toggling you on and off.
You keep getting muted. Are you pressing us?
There you go.
Yeah, hang on. Let me turn the muting off.
No, now your muting's on.
Oh,
Now it's off.
Right. Let me.
You can share your screen now if you want.
Yeah, let me go back up here and do it this way if I can figure out how all this works. You know, it's a little difficult.
Share screen will give you a dialogue, and then there you go. That's it.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I bought. It's really a nice one. And I'm really, very pleased with it. And it does all kinds of different things. It folds up. But it's like 18,500 lumens.
Wow.
So it lights up my garage rather well.
Is that $36 for that one unit?
Yeah, it was $5 off. There was a coupon for it.
Wow. And it's 140 watts, huh?
Yeah, it's less than the 280 than the two 80-watt 8-foot tubes that I had.
Wow.
So, but you can't look at it.
Do you have to be concerned about getting sunburned if you get too close?
It's bright light. I worry about that, especially being bald-headed.
And the space station has been talking about that bright light coming from the Orlando area.
We see it on, we can see it on Saparel Lane down there. Anyhow, that's
At Denny's over a year ago, Tom Alt talked about buying one of these and put them in his shop and how well they did. And he bought them at some store that was, I believe, in Gainesville, that they don't have one here. And it's kind of like a Tractor Supply or something, but it's in Gainesville and they're trying to get one here. But he told about that over a year ago at Denny's.
It's really a bright light, and I really do like it. It's I didn't realize how little I was seeing with those two 8-foot tubes, and compared to on the other side of it, there are two 4-foot LED bright, and this is daylight bright, so they're not the yellow or anything like that, which I like. So, Sean, you're right on.
Great.
As your co-host and leader tonight, let me say we're kind of dragging on here, but we've got two things that I'd like to do. First, I'd like to give Huey a chance to talk since he hadn't really had a chance other than to comment on us. And then an issue had come up by email as to whether we wanted to start meeting in person again. So let Huey go first, and then we'll discuss that. You got it, Huey.
The second one first. I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to
okay.
make it if you meet together.
nor me, but for now. But yeah. So what have you got?
Since you don't have a Chromebook or don't want to use your Chromebook anymore, I did have.
Well, that's all right.
In our learning Chromebooks earlier last Thursday, we had mentioned about creating a USB stick for in case your system locked up or something and you couldn't get it. And of course, I talked about it and mentioned it and didn't have one, the recovery disk. And lo and behold, over the weekend, I decided to turn something on and that's in test mode. And when I did, the whole system locked up. And every time I booted, I went to a black screen. I could sign in and I'd see something, but as soon as I pressed on something, it went black and then I couldn't do anything. And I had to either close the lid and open it and start over again, or hold in the start button for the 15 seconds you're supposed to hold it in, and it would start back up. So I couldn't do anything. So I said, well, I've got Robin's Chromebook. So I went and it's an extension for the Chrome browser. And I downloaded it. It's free from Google. And then I ran it and it says, okay, you need to put in the model of your Chromebook. Well, I wasn't doing it on mine. I was doing it on hers. And so I tried to figure out what to do. And it said, okay, just put in the brand. And when I put in the brand of Dell, it then gave me a drop down of all the models it had available. And I picked out mine and clicked on it. And then it said, okay, put in the stick. And I put in the stick and it found it. And it took, maybe all of 10 minutes, a few minutes to download it, another couple of minutes to double check it, to make sure that it was a good download. And then it installed it on the stick. I took the stick out, went over to my machine to try to boot up. And of course it kept going to the standard boot. So I had to go look up, and you have to go with the escape key and then the refresh key on your keyboard. You press them at the same time while you're booting, and it will automatically go and say, okay, which drive do you want to boot from? I said the USB stick. It took about 5 minutes or so, and it installed the operating system. I had to put in then the password for my Wi-Fi, and then I had to sign into my Google account, and everything was there. The only thing I lost was anything I had saved in my download local directory, which I don't normally save anything anyway. And if I do, every once in a while, I just back it up over to my Google Drive. And I was back up and running. So what would take me days or weeks on a Windows machine took less than an hour. And I was back to working with no problems. I didn't lose anything.
Did you have any idea what caused it to lock up?
Oh, I turned on one of the flags to test something, and I don't know if that caused it or a combination of some things, but I didn't care.
It's kind of like playing with the registry. I know there's all kinds of flags.
But the thing is with a Chromebook, because everything's in the cloud, all my programs were there, all the settings were there, all of the passwords that I save were all there. The only thing I lost is I have an email program, and it did lose the settings for the email addresses, and I just that took me 5. I have a list, so I just took the list and put them in, and within 5 minutes I had that back up and running too. So don't do as I say, or don't do as I do as I say, because my adage has always been, your computer knows you don't have a backup or you don't have a restore disk. It knows it, and it will take advantage of it and let you know that you should have done it.
As a matter of fact, today I got a notice from Macker and Reflect that they had done an update. And normally I ignore the updates because I learned the hard way a long time ago that sometimes an update to that program won't read a previous backup. But this time they said that they had actually found a bug in the emergency boot program where people putting their USB sticks in were not able to properly boot and get the program to run if they wanted to recover an image. So I have a primary and a backup USB key. So I did in fact make new keys today, and I'll make new images.
You got that today?
Yeah, it popped up today. Yep.
Huh.
Didn't see that.
Did that come in through your email or?
No, my Mac and Reflect runs all the time in the background, keeping track of the used and unused sectors. And so it boots up with Windows and it just sits in the system tray. So when I started the computer today, that popped up and said Macro Reflect has an update. And so I clicked on it and I get a little yellow sort of rectangle that opens up from the bottom tray and says, here's the changes. And I said, yeah, okay, go ahead, give them to me.
I'll see what happens when I click on my program. Maybe it'll show me the update when I click on the program.
Yeah.
Hey, I just got one other question on TVs real quick. The QLED versus the LED. Is it worth the money?
I would say YouTube is the answer. I hate to put it that way.
Whoa. What do you mean YouTube is the answer?
Well, as you know, almost everything is covered on YouTube. So those issues are actually covered. I found a very good channel. I happen to like the guy, and he's been comparing QLED, nano LED backlights, which TCL uses, OLED, obviously, and then there's QLED. So there's 4 or 5 technologies of what is actually used to put the picture on the screen.
Well, from what I read, only 55-inch and bigger TVs are using the Q.
Yeah, I know, and most of them are that way.
And is it worthwhile?
Well, I'm leaning towards TCL if I do ever get something, and the equivalent is a Sony, which is let's see, that's about $1,300, and the Sony is $2,300. So it's almost $1,000 more. So I'm going to compromise and go with I think I would go with the TCL if I were going to buy something right now, and I would go with a 75-inch. But I know you're restricted based on the size of your living room console.
Well, 55 is pushing it for me.
You'd probably have to put it in an angle to.
Well, it'll still fit on the table, I believe.
Yeah.
And that one I was looking at, most of the TVs you look at, I noticed had a leg on, 2 legs on each end. It's got the double. So I got a measurement, and I was still good. But the ones I looked at Best Buys that were 55-inch had a pedestal. Didn't have the legs. It had a solid pedestal.
I'll send you some links of what I've been looking at. It's in my YouTube history, and you can take a look because they discuss the technology.
Maybe
and if that's of interest to the group, I'll post those to the TechSIG as a whole.
Please do.
Mindy does not use the TV, in a turbo mode, you might say. She looks at it. As long as it's got a picture, she's happy. So I'm not really sure if all these extra,
if you're not going to be watching 4K, like my latest thing is I'm watching this new volcano that has erupted in Iceland, but it's about a week old now. If you go to YouTube after we finish here and you just Google Iceland volcano, it's live 24/7. And it's in 4K, although the only 4K that I can see is on my 32-inch monitor here in the office. And really it's not 4K, it's 720p. But that's my best display of that particular video. And it's amazing, just watching it in that kind of resolution. And so I would think if I had a 4K TV in my living room and was watching some of these things, it would be, the word I guess would be awesome.
Well, everything's 4K that you're going to buy today.
Yeah, I know. But everything is dumbed down in this house right now. So, okay, anybody? Oh, all right. So discussion of meeting in person. So Stan, why don't you
Yes.
and Sean pick it up as the 2 SIG leaders here and discuss it?
Yeah, the question was the Denny's on Lee Road does have a room. I have talked to them. They remembered, not me necessarily, but the woman I spoke to, who was the assistant manager, remembered when we used to meet there. And that had to be 10 years ago. The room is considerably smaller than the Castleberry. So I'm a little concerned as to how many people, if we're going to have a 6-foot separation, social distancing, I'm not sure how many people we would get in that room. But be that as it may, I'm curious to know how many of the people who are attending now would be excited about going to a person-to-person meeting versus staying on virtual. So can we use the reactions if
Yeah, I think I do actually see here, it says, I have a polls. Let's see. Oh, add a question. Well, just use the reaction, I suppose. Let's see if you got reaction. Okay, so reaction has got a green circle with a check mark or a red circle with an X.
exactly.
So the question is, are you ready to go with in-person meetings? Either respond with a green circle or a red circle.
I don't see any of those.
You probably have an older version of, do you have a reaction with with an up or down, thumb up or thumb down?
Hey, which way you're doing it again?
You know, is a green circle or a thumbs up is to meet in person. A
You have
red
to click at the bottom on reactions.
under reactions, yeah. It's the
I would
latest.
think about it, but I'm not excited about it. I'm kind of on the fence.
I am myself, even though I'm totally the vaccines. I got them both in August, September. I found out that the social distancing, I think, would be more difficult in a room for a period of time. My wife and I have joined our daughter and granddaughter outdoor restaurants a couple of times. One time we went to an indoor restaurant, but it was, like 15 feet from the nearest table. That's a small room, so I am concerned. But so are there people who are strong to do it besides Sean?
There's more of us. There's more of us than just here. There's a number of different surveys you can do if you like. You know, you can just go to one of the surveys and send that out as an email to the TechSIG and say, respond.
Yeah.
Also, is there another location that's like more centralized?
Well, we were trying to get to the American Legion post, and I guess they're not open yet. Again, are they?
Because
Stan? 'Cause that
for
would have been
me,
perfect.
that's an hour trip to go in that direction.
I like having Huey there available, so,
Yeah, we'll all go down to Bradenton.
but keeping it online keeps it available.
Well, if I was going, I would make it hybrid so that any of the in-person stuff, could also be online for those that want to be.
A lot of the groups that are attempting to do some local meetings or in-person meetings are making them hybrid. There are some challenges, but Mike has done it several times. So they're just wherever you decide to do it, you need to make sure either somebody has a good
Here's my personal situation. I have, again, I'm going to try to not get on the soapbox. I have gone on Joyce and I are not getting the vaccine. We are going on a protocol, and we're taking ivermectin, which also is both a treatment and a prophylaxis for prevention. So we're doing that so we can go see our son, daughter-in-law, and my granddaughter and family in May. So that's why I'm not going out anywhere other than a quick trip to Publix or something like that between now and May. If that trip is successful, if we avoid the infection completely, or if we get it and it's minor because of what I'm taking, I would come back home. I would, quarantine for 5 to 10 days, and then I would probably consider limited going out and about again. So if you want to convene in person before May, I can't help you out. I will say that after May, assuming everything is successful, I'd be willing to go out again and help you with a hybrid meeting.
Okay.
But you may want to do a survey of the TechSIG members.
Yeah, but in a way, this is the hardcore. This is the people that that would come to the live meetings and are attending.
Well, it affects your regular meetings too.
Of course. But, you know, there are so many people who would, you know, not come to a Sunday meeting, and that's understood. But who, like Bob Dolph, for example, there are so many guys who just never once came to one of our virtual TechSIG meetings. I don't understand it. But I probably ought to just contact a few people like that. And, who's
Well,
I noticed it's
check
a lot
with,
of-
check with the American Legion and see what their plans are for reopening. You know, that is a perfect,
They probably have been open.
no?
the bar, isn't it? Is probably
They
open.
had some difficulties. They were considering filing for bankruptcy.
Oh,
They're hurting because, you know, when they're just a bar, they're not a restaurant.
Yeah.
Per se. So they had to shut down, and I guess they even, I have the feeling they may own the building. They do have expenses, and they were apparently really in tough shape. So I've been by there a couple of times. There's no signs. There's just nobody there. But I have contacts. I'll get in touch with them and see what they say.
okay.
Okay. Well,
All right, I'm going to stop recording. Wherever it is, there it is.